Hello everyone, my name is Edith Villeda Cortez, and today I'm going to talk about a famous person who is not only a famous author, but he is also a photoist and he has a great personality, and his name is Phillippe Diederich that I want to talk about today. Even though his dad was not from Haiti, but her mother was, they both lived there for a long period of time until his father was forced to move out because of his writings. Many people didn't agree with his writings, so that's when both of them decided to move to La Dominica Republica with his son, which is Phillippe. When he moved to Mexico City, it was a very different experience for him. Imagine you being away from your family and not being able to be surrounded by relatives. It's a whole different new experience. And for Phillippe, it was a very hard situation knowing that he was not surrounded by his family, that for him, it stood out a lot. As I mentioned about his father, that he was a writer, he was also influenced by that. He was very amazed of what his father wrote and what he thought about certain things, and that's what influenced Phillippe to be just like his dad and think about ways that many others didn't think. Diederich said when he was in fourth grade, a friend of mine showed me a dark room that he had set up in his house with his father. He showed me a photo he had taken and developed. It was an airplane in the sky. At that moment, he thought maybe photography was something for him. Maybe it wasn't. He attended school in Sartosa, Florida. He said that he was not interested in typical newspaper work, but he loved black and white photography. He admired the work of magnet photographers, and that's the direction he was trying to focus on and try to achieve the types of photos that they created. Most of his photos were from Cuba. He loved Cuba, not just because of the place, because of the people. He also liked the bodana and the food, the cooking, and just the way that it was very open. He also liked how Cubans were very friendly and fun-loving people. He liked Cuba a lot, that he spent a lot of time traveling back and forth to Cuba throughout the 19th centuries. At the time, he did a lot of reading about the island and did a research about the country, and that's when he decided to write his first book. Sofrito was a Cuban American who returns to Cuba and finds out a lot about his family. This parallels a lot to Phillippe's life, given his part as a Haitian American. He said he chose not to write about Cuba instead of Haiti because his own experience was too close to him that he couldn't represent it accurately. Phillippe says that every time he thinks about Sofrito, he thinks about two characters, Michi and Orlando, because they remind him constant of the mind from the start, real hustlers, and always ready for a new adventure. Another book he wrote was Communism and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I thought this was a very interesting book because the way that he wrote it, it just gives us a real experience how he felt when he was in Cuba. Another thing that I liked about his book and the communism motorcycle maintenance was the pictures that he had. The pictures were really realistic and it gave a lot of imagery in the book. What I liked about it was that they are based on Cuba, and it was very interesting for me. Diederich has shot for the New York Times and has written a collection of essays, and recently his short story, The Falling, won the Chris O'Malley Prize for the fiction of the Madison Review. This was a great success for him, and eventually he won many awards. He won other awards such as in 2014 the Elizabeth George Foundation Grant, 2015 Florida Division of Cultural Affairs Individual Artist Grant, 2017 Best Young Adult Novel Texas Institute of Leaders, and 2017 PEN Phillippe Negro Working Writer Fellowship. The widow of Calle Verduras is similar to Diederich by the dialogue he does in the story. He uses Spanish and English, and that's the way that he likes to introduce his writings. The story is about a woman who lost his husband but eventually finds out he's alive, even though she did a bunch of things behind his back. Diederich has a lot of followers. One of his favorite followers is Lorraine C. Ladish, her wife. On her tweets, she said, "This is my husband. I admire his presence because talent without work is nothing. He does the work. I hope it inspires." He admires him a lot. Diederich experienced something in Mexico City. He experienced a disappearance of 43 students from a rural of a teacher's college in Guerrero 2 years ago. That was where influenced him to write for the praying of the devil's fire. As well, it was also about the Mexico's corruption and violence that's going on. The story is about a 13-year-old boy. Bully and his friends are deep in the middle of the game of marbles. An older boy named Mosca had the prize of the Devil's Fire marble. His pals are jealous and want to win it away from him. This is Xanax and the Place of Tears, a small pueblo in the tiny west of Mexico City. In my opinion, his writings give a meaning to the book, not just he writes it and there it's done being published. He actually gives a meaning to the book, and that's what makes an author, just making the books inspiring and meaningful, and other authors do, but he's my most favorite one. Finally, I know Phillippe will continue to expand its success, and I am so anxious to read his new book that's coming up, and I know for a fact all of you will admire him like I do, and thank you for the time that you guys gave me to present.